Back in the day when I first got into people photography, especially the fancy high-end portrait stuff, I was a bit lost when it came to photo editing. I would open photos in Adobe Camera Raw and Photoshop and start playing with these knobs and sliders left, right, not really knowing which direction to take. I didn't know which steps followed which. I had no framework basically. I was on a mission to turn those dull photos into stunning and spectacular masterpieces. You know, as a beginner, I would take the photos into Photoshop and do the same thing over and over again. Of course, after a few rounds of try and error, it would hit me like a ton of bricks. My editing process was all over the place and I needed some form of structure, a clear step-by-step plan, so that when I sat down to edit a photo, I knew where to begin, what next steps to take, and where I was headed to. The problem was with the workflow. So today I'm super excited to share with you my 9-step framework of high-end portrait retouching. It may sound fancy and serious, but it's really not. It is very, very, very easy and you're going to be amazed. These are just steps that work best for me and how I approach my photo editing. By the way, in this video, I'll be giving you a breakdown on the framework itself. I won't be diving deep into each step, but hey, if there is a step you are dying to learn more about, drop a comment below and I'll think about making a dedicated video in future on that particular step that you want. And if you want to skip ahead to a particular section in this video, I've provided timestamps below so that you can kick things off with a step that you really want to see. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to first do the basic retouching. When I say basic retouching, I mean cleaning up the whole image before we do even anything. We're going to come into Windows here, we say layers, and then I'm just going to create a layer right on top of this just to first remove these blemishes that are big. I'm just going to come here and get my clone stamp tool, and then I'm just going to say current layer and below. Then I'm just going to come over here and then just clean up all these blemishes here. I'll get also the spot healing tool, and then I just come and remove all these. Basically what I'm doing right now, I'm only doing now this basic retouching. So the next thing we're going to do, we are going to do liquefying or shaping the whole face. This is where you get into the liquefying tool and then you begin shaping the particular parts of the face. So basically what we're going to do in this one, we're only going to put the jawline, make it straight. If she had a very fat face or she had a double chin, those are the things we would be removing. We're also going to partly liquefy the lips and see how it beautifully works out. Of course, apart from the jawline, we're also going to come and lift the eye up a little bit so that that space gets a bit wider. We're also going to come do it over this eye, get around the lip area, and of course shape it. She has perfect lips. We're going to make the nose a bit tiny. Then we're also going to shape the jawline further, more finishing, and then we are done with the liquefying. I'm done with all the shaping and the like. So the next thing now, after doing the shaping and all that, let me show you the before. That's the before, that's the after. Basically what we've done, we've only shaped the jawline, but there are those complicated images that really where people have double chins, you want maybe to reduce the hands and all that stuff. This is where that liquefying of course goes into advanced stages. I cover all this into the Retouching Secrets Masterclass. Now we are going to get into the step of the skin smoothening. We smoothen the skin using frequency separation. Frequency separation is a skin retouching method. This particular method helps you separate the textures and the tones of the image in different layers, and it helps you to edit each of these elements of a photo in different layers. I already have actions of the frequency separation. I'm just going to come here and click onto the beauty frequency right here, and then I'm just going to come here and then reduce. I'll just come and get onto a particular texture that I love the most, and I will zoom out and I'll make sure it is completely blurred out. This is quite a big image. It's a big image shot with a 50 megapixel camera, shot with a 5 DSR. So I'll just come and blur out until I see that I don't see the textures anymore. I'll blur it out even a little bit more. I don't want you to cram dig it, because depending on the kind of image you're editing, actually this particular radius depends on how big the image is or the focal length of the image, because the frequency of the full image is completely different from the radius you use when you're editing close-up shots like this. So I'm just going to keep it there, and I'm going to come here and say okay. Then I'm going to come here and say the rest of course is all set. I'm going to here come and say yeah, have it that way. So basically now I've separated. These are now the textures and these are the tones. So we're now going to do skin smoothing. How are we going to do this? We're going to first come, of course, work onto the texture right here. I'm going to get my clone stamp. Here, and then the next thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to come and then begin. Oops, the reason as to why it is red is because I've selected current layer and below. So I'll press Ctrl or Command Z if you're using a Mac, and then select current layer, and then I'm just going to come here and just edit the texture here and remove those pimples that I didn't remove in the first basic retouch, just like that. Of course, I'm not going to get into details. So the next thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to come and now smoothen the skin. That is now the other step, of course, to the other step when it comes to the retouching workflow. I'll just come here like that, and I say filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then I'll come and blur out, right here until I see that the skin is smooth the way I want it, like that. So now you don't want to do it in such a way that it gets flat. Yeah, so what you do, you come and blur out slowly by slowly until you see, did I say slowly by slowly? You go on actually testing the different radiuses until you see a radius that somehow evens out the skin, and at the same time not making the image too flat, like around that area right there. So the next thing I'm going to do, of course, I'm still going to come into these particular zones, and I'll press Ctrl Alt Shift and F to repeat the action. Still I'll come around this area and still repeat the same. Also here I do the skin smoothing right now, because right now I just want all the tones to be as even as can be right there. I'll come here as well, there, and then still I'll come onto this particular zone right here, there. So basically I do the whole skin smoothing. I don't want the video to be so long, so I'm not going to be really very perfect in this one. I'll come here as well into the neck area, so I'll give this like a different Gaussian blur, because usually the neck tends to have a lot of uneven skin tone, so I usually take this a bit overboard when it comes to the neck areas. Yeah, there is a way you can of course bring back all those textures. I'll still come here again and do the same Gaussian blur. I'll come into this particular area of the fingers. Oops, it is too much for the finger area. I'll press Ctrl Z just to undo. Okay, come here into edit and say undo, edit, undo, Gaussian blur. Yes, I'm going to show you how to edit that. So basically, I'll look into this zone. When you look at this particular area, the the skin tones seem known to be even. So I'll come and select it, get into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and I'll just blur this particular zone out so that the skin tones get even more even. And then I'll also come around this area, and of course, oops, that is too flat for me. Oops. Control Z, filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then I'll just come and reduce them. I'll come here and do the same thing. So basically, there we have it. So the next thing we're going to do right now, after doing of course the frequency separation, is now going to be color matching. Yeah, so color matching, that is where we remove blotches. Yeah, that is the other step that we go into. So how do we do that? I come into the tonal layer right here and then create a layer, a new layer, empty layer right behind it. So I'm going to rename this blotches. What this particular step does is that it is a way of matching skin tones. When you look at the face, usually the foundation color is most of the times different from what you see in the neck. And when it comes to dark skinned people or people of color, usually the knuckles tend to be dark. So what do? You just come here, get your brush tool, reduce the opacity to something like 3, and then you select the blotch layer right here. For example, when it comes to the knuckles, we're just going to pick a color here by pressing Alt, and then we're going to paint over here like that so that we somehow brighten the knuckles. Let me just show you the before and after. I'll come and zoom in. Yeah, look at this. That's the before. You see how it was, and that's the after, before and after. So we're going to go do the same thing over this particular area as well. Select a color here as well. Remove these dark knuckles. I'll come still here. Now this time around on the neck area, I'll make sure the brush is a bit big. So I'll choose just a light color here, and then I'll just wash over the neck. So let's look at this. That's the before and that's the after. Basically what this one does is that it matches the skin tones. Yeah, and it brings back all those beautiful colors, those beautiful shades, so that you have skin tones that somehow match, that match the foundation colors and the like. So that is how you do the blotching and removing the blotches and the like. So what are we going to do next? The next thing we're going to do now, we're going to do burning and dodging. You see, when you do frequency separation and maybe the skin smoothing, if I may say, usually the picture turns out to have a flattish look. So how do we accentuate this image? Usually we do burning and dodging. So I'll use the burning and dodging action right here, and then I'm just going to come and then get my brush tool again right here. This is the burn layer, and I'm just going to come and burn all over just to create depth. I'll keep the opacity at around 3 because I don't want, yeah, right there, and I'll burn in, certain parts by burning over the layer mask here, right here, burn in the cheekbones, the nose contouring, around the jawline, also here. Usually I love burning around the mascara area as well. I also maybe burn around the lip area just to contour the lip scene, by darkening it so that it gets much more of that ombre kind of feel. Yeah, then I'll also come around the jawline. This helps to bracket out the face somehow. I'll come also again onto the cheekbone area just to accentuate the cheekbone even more. Then I'm going to come and begin dodging now. Which parts do I dodge? I usually dodge the nose highlight just around that area so that it pops. Then I also dodge in jaw so that she gets that young, vibrant vibe. You know, when people get old, usually the jawline somehow shrinks in. So how do you bring back her youth? Is by accentuating this particular jawline again. Then I also come here over here. The reason as to why I'm banning dodging the highlight zone is because you want to create more depth in the whole image. Also come around this area, emphasize the concealer. Usually around this area, makeup artists highlight that particular area, and it gives the picture more presence by highlighting these particular zones. Then I'll also more highlighting here. Then I'll also come in the neck area. So that is banning and dodging. Basically, banning and dodging has created depth in the whole image. We are done with banning and dodging. So the next thing I'm going to do right now, I'm now going to work on the eyes. So we're going to lighten them more. So I'm just going to come and use still the eyes action right here. Just going to come and zoom it in, and then I'm going to come right here, and I'm just going to come and paint around the white part of the eye, just around there. So the parts that where we don't want the color, the white to be, so I'll press X on my keyboard to invert this so that I get black on top again. Then I'll just paint around, also remove it away from the pupil area all the way like that. That's the before, that's the after. We're done with that. The next thing, after doing the eyes and the teeth, that's when we do the color grading. I already have a color grading action here. I won't go through the details of the color grading. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come here and click on to color. And boom, there you have it. We've done now the color correction and color grading. So what I just come here and just maybe do a few adjustments. I feel like it's too bright. I'll just come and maybe add in a bit of that contrasty feel. Usually what I do, I only tackle this particular level section just to calm down the lighting and the like. So the next thing, of course, after color grading is going to be now sharpening. Most of the times I do selective sharpening because I shoot in landscape picture style. When I shoot in landscape picture style, usually the pictures come out very sharp. In the days I used to shoot with Nikon, I used to shoot in vivid picture style because I never wanted to overly sharpen my images. So I do the sharpening all in camera. I'm just going to now to sharpen certain parts. Maybe I bring back the textures of the whole picture and all here. So I'm just going to come and merge this by pressing Ctrl Shift and E just to merge the whole image. I'm just going to come here into my sharpening thing. I call it the recontour too because it brings back certain parts contours, and I'm just going to click here and the action is going to play. It's quite a heavy filter. Somehow it takes a lot of RAM. I don't know whether you can see the difference, but look at this. That's the before, that's the after. But I don't want the sharpening to be in the whole image, and I just create a layer mask right next to it, and I'm going to press Ctrl I just to invert it. I just want the sharpening to be around the edges of the eyes, of course, but I'll paint white in so that it is more revealed, the edges of the eyes. Yeah, I would want the sharpening around there for more presence in the whole image. Yeah, then of course I would want to have more sharpening around the cheekbone area. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come and reduce the flow. For the eyes I usually leave it in full, but when it comes to these other parts I just want to come and paint in until I get the desirable, you know, feel. So what I come to do, I just come here into get my brush, then I increase the size of the brush right here, and then I just come and paint in these particular areas. So just come paint in that. I think I love the texture around that area as well. Also come and paint in that. I'll paint in that, the cheekbone area. I usually love bringing back a little bit of texture in the neck because usually it gets blurred out like that around that area, not so much in the eyebrow zone. So I think let me zoom in for you just for you to get the feel. That's it. That's the before, that's the after, before and after. Now guys, there you have it. That is the high-end retouching workflows. First, you're of course going to do, after doing all, you do the camera processing, you're going to do the basic retouch. Then the next thing you're going to do, you're going to shape and liquefy the whole image so that you put it in shape. So after that, you get into the skin smoothening. Now skin smoothening has, one, you work on the textures of the skin and the tones of the whole image. Then you're going to do the burning and dodging after all that is done, just to create depth in the whole image. The next thing you're going to do, you're going to whiten and lighten the teeth using the same technique. Actually, the other thing you're going to do now, after of course whitening the teeth, you get into now the color grading or the color correction phase. I choose to call it the color grading phase because during the camera raw processing, that is where you do the color correction. What we do here in high-end retouching after doing the camera raw color correction is basically color grading. You're coloring these pictures basing on your testers and artists. Then after color grading, you're going to sharpen. How you sharpen? You sharpen in a clever way by recontouring, bringing back the contours into the whole image. But when you're sharpening, you make sure the eyes are sharpened more than any other part. There you have it, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you've not yet subscribed to this channel, of course, subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, and in the comments below, tell me what has resonated with you and which of these steps would you want me to create a special video about. I'll see you in the next video, and adios.